the structure, the amount of the investment, and where we're going to spend it on use of proceeds at the back end. Okay, so let's talk about the so what. We're going to get into this, problem that matters, as we like to say. Now, that part about the IKEA furniture is where it starts, because I have to go through this, unfortunately, to give you guys a sense of the construction of the pitch, and then I'm going to show you some real stuff. In the introduction, what you've got to do is get out your core value proposition somewhere in a single sentence, a unique benefit. You got to talk about a big idea. People like big ideas. You got to go boldly here. And one of the ways to do that is to actually use a metaphor. And we're getting a lot of that. How many people have gone to AngelList? Angel.co? Anybody use AngelList or been to it? Highly recommend you write that one down. If you want to see thousands of entrepreneurs that are all out there pitching their wares, they're on AngelList right now. It's really a way to crowdsource funding. It's not quite like Kickstarter because they're qualified angels funding companies. And they're syndicating money, 25s, 50s, $100,000 checks, and a lot of them are making millions of dollars using AngelList. Highly recommend that you look at that as an alternative to funding. On AngelList, what you'll find is a lot of companies that use metaphors because they're only used they are only allowed a few characters similar to Twitter to actually introduce their company. I don't know what the character count is, but you can figure it out when you go to the site. You'll see some very, very cool stuff out there. There's one restaurant or one company that introduces itself as Uber for restaurants. How many people have used Uber or heard about it? A lot of you. So do you get what Uber is? Do you know what a restaurant is? That's how good a metaphor works. Now, what do you think that company does? We're Uber for restaurants. We're Uber for 4 words. Do you guys know what they do? It looks like most people in here know what they do. Essentially, what they're doing is it's like a digital wallet. When you go in, you don't even have to settle up with a waiter. If the restaurant's subscribing, away you go. So, and I haven't even gone in and gone through the AngelList profile on them, but I could really, from just that metaphor, know exactly what they're doing. That's the beauty of good communication. When you figured out that metaphor, or however you figure out that one-line pitch, people just get it, and life gets a lot easier for the follow-on communications. So this Uber for restaurants is one thing. Rent, Frock, Repeat is another customer client that I've been working with here at Mars, Lisa DeLorme, who's actually got about 23,000 members out there now, and they're in designer fashion rental, dresses for women, that costs about $150 as opposed to buying it for $800. It's an amazing business model, and you could even describe that as Zipcar for designer fashion. But what's interesting is she's thinking more about consignment, so actually designers placing their dresses with her, and she doesn't carry the load. It's a consignment option. What would that be? Airbnb for dresses. Very big difference, right, between Zipcar and Airbnb, where Zipcar holds inventory, but Airbnb utilizes existing inventory that owners already have. So you got to really think about what metaphor works for you. It's X, where X meets Y. And then this whole notion of emotion, I want you in the front end of a presentation to create an emotional, visceral response. Why haven't things been done this way before? Be provocative. Nice to haves are not investable. Then we have to paint a picture of who's got the pain. We want to define the problem, the current state of insanity. We want to talk about historical evolution, if that makes sense. Why has this not been possible until now with cloud computing, for instance? That might be one of the things that unlocks the value proposition or the business model. Who are the main personas in the market that you're addressing? Whose pain are you solving? And then pictures. Weave some pictures into the front end of this to give people a visual. Because again, the text only carries you so far. And then your solution comes into the rescue next. And what you're working on now is a product screenshot, maybe a product photo. You may want to show some functionality. I'm going to show you what I call a who-do. And in fact, I got that tip from Dave Gray from Xplane, who talks about who's in the scene and what are they doing. Show me a topology or a schematic or a day in the life of your customer as it exists today. And that's the pain. The gain is after they've got your product. I'm going to show you how you can play that off quite nicely in one slide. The category where you play, the readiness of your solution, you may want to speak to where you are and not misrepresent how far you've gone with this if it's only a prototype. And that's important in this setup as well, that if it's not a real product yet, that you at least disclose that and don't mislead people. Because sometimes I've gone right into a presentation all the way through to find out that it's all screenshots that were so well done, I thought it was a real product, and it's a bit of a letdown at the end. At the end of this chapter, you want to show what you've achieved to date. Things like when you were founded, the number of employees, the advisors you've got, beta users, how many paying customers do you have, partners, your media coverage, industry awards, any patents, and show people an executive summary of the traction that you've achieved. Now, you're probably confused by this point until you actually see how you actually use it. I'm going to show you 3 really big slides really fast with a quick pitch of how to do this. I want you to listen up, because when I see failure on pitches, it's often on the first 3 slides. I know whether something's going to go well or not after those setups. And this is where most of the time is often spent when I'm coaching companies, because often they know their IP. They often know so many things about their business, but they don't do a good job of engaging people. We're in the tooth decay business. QDT, as understood here, as they do this presentation, QDT Dental actually was targeting the whole notion of tooth decay and the fact that most detection methods, X-ray and visual detection methods, have remained fundamentally unchanged for 40 years. And the dirty little secret in dentistry is that so many of these technologies fail to really give an accurate picture of where the tooth decay is and how badly decayed a person's tooth might be. And in fact, less than 50% of the time, tooth decay is accurately indicated by these methods. You with me so far? Is this a big market potentially? Do we all have teeth? Yes. Do we all go to the dentist? Yes. If half the time those X-rays that we're getting are not working as well, this is a big market. That's why we invented the Canary system. It's a hardware and software solution of interactive software and printed patient reports using a low-powered laser, which is very safe. When it's put on the tooth by a dental hygienist or a dentist, it emits a standardized number that identifies the degree of issues you've got with the teeth. Very, very cool. You show the product and away you go. You with me so far? We've seen the problem. We know it's a fairly big market. And then once you know what the pain is and the gain, we move to what we do. They developed a new platform, uses a low-powered laser to detect tooth decay earlier and more accurately than the conventional technologies, allowing dentists to treat the tooth and remineralize it, which is one of their business models, instead of the standard drill, fill, and bill model. Now, this is where it's important in the first couple of minutes with an investor to hold their attention, show them what you've achieved. In this case, the company, when they did this presentation to angels in the US and won the National Angel Deal of the Year award, they showed that they had product, a first clinical dental model with commercial units manufactured, 50 pre-orders in terms of customers with a strong patent portfolio. First Health Canada approved clinical trials were completed, putting huge strategic partnerships in place with companies like Patterson, working with Shine and Glaxo and such, and then showing the amount of money that they've received already and then the amount that they need to break even at the end of the presentation. So what do you think of this company so far? They going places? Do you think they're solving a big problem? Good solution? It works? They're doing well from what I understand. I haven't checked in, but on their website it looks like things are starting to boom and they're getting picked up. Lots of testimonials. They're moving it into dentist's office. It's great to see. I think what's important is that we told a lot of information in just 3 slides. If you think I can do this, you should see the CEO when she does it. Pretty amazing. So we're not done yet. Another one that I wanted to show that they talk about is how they can change the world. Like dentistry is a big thing, but there's a bit of complexity to how this machine gets worked into the actual dental practice. So what I'm showing here is healthy tooth, demineralization, starts to decay. Advanced enamel decay is not in many ways detected at the bottom. And what they're doing is eliminating this whole notion of enamel decay by getting earlier enamel decay here with the Canary system and starting remineralization therapies on the tooth faster because they got to it faster. This is a really important slide when you start to look at this. Many entrepreneurs forget to sort of show this Google Earth model of how they work. They take the investor right down to street view and then you expect them to understand what's going on. All I see is a series of address numbers at that point. What I need to know is what planet I'm on, what category you're in, where are you playing, who's adjacent to this, how will this work in a dentist's office? Take me through a day in the life, and you'll get farther with me as an investor. Let's move to the second chapter. Attractive market, an ability to scale the business. What kind of opportunity do we have here? Well, this is where we spend time on market size. Can the market support multiple players? What's the reasonable market that we can serve? Are we going niche in certain segments, or are we going broad? What kind of geography are we after? Are we going global beyond North America? Often we're just going to the States at first, but what are your aspirations there? What sort of proof do you have, and what sort of primary research have you potentially done on your own clients, even if you haven't developed a product? Have you got an end sample of data that you can take me through that shows that there's a real market opportunity in terms of the number of people that are going to buy? Next, can you take me into those early customers and prospects? Can you show me a pipeline? Have you categorized those key segments in terms of why they bought? And what are the personas, the customer characteristics, in terms of, why are they buying this? Are there 2 reasons out of 10? And are some of those other reasons that you've built for, are they coming into view later? At the same time, I'll show you an example of how you would lay up your customers. Often we just throw up the initial people that we're talking to or who we've signed, and we don't categorize them in any meaningful way. You've got to provide some context for the investor on that as well. The other thing I like to see is if you've got any quotes from early customers. Customer quotes, they're often left out, but they're very, very helpful. We had a client today that was pitching, and they had an amazing quote from the Ontario government and another one from a major bank. And earlier we were debating whether or not we should use those. Yes, if you've got a quote that's stating numbers in terms of cost reduction or extra revenue that the client can make, get it out there. I'm also surprised, going back to the last slide, at how few entrepreneurs avail themselves of analyst reports and have not read an analyst report to get some interesting data on the market that they're serving. Very, very important. The other thing there, too, is how many trade shows have you gone to? If I'm investing in a company, I'll often ask that. Have you gone to the leading trade show that actually serves the market that you're selling into? And if the answer is no, and I've never even heard of it, I often send them back to the drawing board in some cases. That's a real red flag for me sometimes. The key message here on making money then at this point in the revenue model is this whole notion of growth and profit. I want to see things like pricing, average deal size. If you're signing up customers and it's a freemium model, how many of those people are actually churning? How many of those people are actually converting to freemium or to premium? The cost to acquire is often a key question that's going to come up here. How much does it cost? If it's B2B, it can be $5,000 to acquire a customer. And if your pricing's $4,500, we got a problem. The channels, have you factored in channels into this? Are they going to get paid out of that $4,500 or whatever you're charging? And lastly, the competitive scenarios. If you start getting some of your market share eaten because certain competitors are coming after you once you get successful, are you sustainable from a revenue point of view there? Your go-to-market strategy also needs to be covered here. So you want to show that you've got the systems in place to close deals. You've got talent. You've got programs. Are you using things like Salesforce.com? Do you have a plan to use it? Do you plan to use systems like HubSpot for inbound marketing? Different types of systems come into play here. And good investors will say, what sort of things are you going to put in that allow me, once I put the money into the deal, to scale intelligently? Do you have a capability to test offers, A/B splits, something you should read up on if you've got a fairly large customer base that you're serving? And as well, do you have the ability, in terms of how you're doing marketing and sales, to change up different methods if something's not working? I hate looking at one option where they say, our whole model is based on pay-per-click advertising on Google. I saw something like this a week ago, and actually there was no plan B. If Google wasn't going to work, or there was a problem with the spread on what they were paying and what they were getting from their end customer, there really didn't appear to be a good out for the investor there or for the team. So a good opportunity example to walk you through an example of, here's a company, Blue Zone, that actually is in the anesthesia business, recycling anesthetic gas. And